All right, John has a sister, Beth. Okay? And Beth was kind enough to tell us a few anecdotes about John from her life. Some things that you either forgotten about John or you wish you had forgotten. Here they come again, all right? There was a time when John saved Beth's life.
Absolutely.
Right. She was 4 years old, okay? Johnny, as he was called back then, that's what Beth called him, Johnny. Not John, but Johnny. That's cute, isn't it? Scott, who's his brother, and Beth's Johnny and Scott were the brothers. Johnny and Scott were watching The Three Stooges. That kind of dates you too. Although, when I was your age, John, I did the same thing, so I understand.
We didn't have Sesame Street though.
Yeah, you got one channel, it's in black and white, that's what you got. And your sister, Beth, was 4 years old. She decided that she had to go check on the kittens outside in the carport. The kittens were in a big cardboard box. She was too short to see them, so she stood on a desk with a folding seat, and unfortunately, as she's looking up, the seat folded up on her. She fell and hit her head on the bumper of her mother's car. Well, she probably screamed, probably made a big noise, blah, blah, blah. So Johnny came to her rescue. What did Johnny do? He took her, put her in the couch or the bed right there in the TV room, put a little wet rag on her head, even though it was bleeding profusely, and went back to watching The Three Stooges. Never said a word to the parents. The parents were, I guess, sleeping and they were taking a nap.
Our parents said they were sleeping on Sunday.
That's how we look. John, people they can fill in the rest of the story. I understand. I know what that's all about.
Larry and Curly were on.
So they finally, the parents wake up in their sleepy little world. They walk outside and they see their daughter, 4-year-old daughter, with a bleeding head and wet rags all over, laying on a bed, and Johnny and Scott watching the Stooges. And so they asked, they said immediately, I can't believe you didn't tell me, blah, 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 blah. So they took her to the clinic, the emergency clinic, and found out that she had a concussion. So her mom goes, Johnny, why didn't you tell me about all this? And we know what Johnny said. He goes, whoop, 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 whoop. I think You're a stooge.
That rag saved her life though.
That's very good. All right. Then there was that girl that he took to the prom. Not one of us could believe that he was going with her to the prom. Sure has given us a lot of ribbing, or we've given him a lot of ribbing through the years. I dare you to ask him her nickname. So John, you have to tell us. Johnny, excuse me, you have to tell us.
I don't recall your
Come on.
something to do with pizza. I don't know.
Pizza? You called her pepperoni because you had a lot of zips?
I don't know.
She was a nice girl.
Story. First one's true.
She was a good squeeze.
All right. And ask him to tell about the near arrest story when on his 40th birthday. Now she doesn't tell us what that was all about, but
Well, what she had done was she had set it up with her brother-in-law, who was a deputy sheriff, and they had the make and model of our rental car, and he was going to pull us over and have a fake arrest. And so we kind of threw the schedule off because we stopped to eat, and so he had to go off on some other chore, and so he wasn't able to arrest us. And so because of that, I thought, if I
You can let Chris tell the rest of it.
Oh, do you have the story?
no, I don't have the story.
No, it's
I'm
the
asking you
story
the question.
about
Yeah.
the fake arrest.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
okay,
the only one.
okay. All
He
right,
has the
all right.
retaliation
This is a
story.
story for
There's a retaliation story, but I won't
So I got a retaliation story here, but I don't have the real story.
Okay, go ahead with that one.
All right. Well, anyway, she tried to pull off this arrest record on John. And so John goes, don't let any good deed go undone, or whatever. He goes, I've got to retaliate. So Johnny hatches a plot with one of his coworkers. Johnny had a woman call me. Now remember, this was your 40th birthday, so this wasn't that. You know, that was you were still working for Mobile at the time. And
Yeah.
Yeah, you could have been. You could have been. Well, you were right before you were out in Bakersfield.
Right.
But it could have been in Bakersfield. You could have had something like Kristen National Plot. But,
Yeah, it was probably Bakersfield,
yeah, it was something like that. So anyway, see, Johnny had a woman call me and leave a message on my answering machine. She acted as if she knew me, and like we were long lost friends. And she said she and her husband were excited to see us, and they would be passing through town, and they wanted to come by. So John and his significant other cleaned and prepared the house. Got all spick and span, got a room ready, the whole 9 yards. But guess what? They never showed up. All right. Well, apparently she called and I guess apologized and said, well, we're going to make it next week. And they never showed up again. Then all of a sudden, Beth, you know, the sister goes, that sounds like my brother. I confronted him with it, and he didn't want to admit it. He said, you know, I'll take the Fifth Amendment.
No, she said that she had turned the matter over to the police.
Well, you don't know. Her daughters were scared to death.
Yeah.
They thought they had a stalker.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anyway, so.
And you said you'd drink the fifth?
Now here's another good John story. When Beth's oldest daughter was in high school, she was dating a guy that she wasn't too happy with, and neither were we. So when Johnny was visiting one day, she keeps calling you Johnny. You know, I guess
Yeah, she still does.
Yeah, isn't that terrible? She was visiting, and we hatched a plot to confuse the guy. When the boyfriend came over that night, Johnny dressed up with a headlamp on. Like a miner's lamp, I guess. He sat down next to the guy, and he kept telling him he loved to fish over and over. And the guy was trying to tell him a little bit about his life, and Johnny just said, I love to fish. I like to fish in the ocean, I like to fish on the lake, I like to fish in the river, I like to fish anywhere. I'll fish right here. And so, all the while with his headlamp right on the campsite. So the family, including Beth, were all silently dying laughing because John just did it over and over and over, wouldn't stop. Within about a week, the guy was gone.
That's a good thing. I have to remember that one.
The other thing, Chris, about that was I asked him, I said, do you have a bass boat? And he said, no, I don't. I said, well, can I use it? When my niece came out, Christina came, they were in the back just laughing. Well, she finally came out and she said, I think his name was Paul. She said, Paul, you ready to go? He said, yeah, you betcha. When they got out to the driveway, he said, that man needs to be in a home.
And it actually happened a few years back. Beth and her husband were in San Diego to go to a wedding reception, and you were supposed to meet Johnny at Joe's Crab Shack in San Diego. Well, we got there at the appointed time, and no Johnny. He's usually dependable, but he wasn't there. So I was getting a little annoyed. This is Beth talking. I was getting a little annoyed. And then we started looking at this guy walking in. He looked like he was a homeless person with a ridiculous wig on and a homemade metal detector pretending that he was trying to look for coins. So there you go, see, and then she realized that's Johnny. Anyway, your sister has had great things to say. She said, my brother is one of the most loving, kind, compassionate guys in the world. I couldn't ask for a better brother, despite the fact that he almost let me die in front of the cruise ship. He always does the little things and never takes credit for it. He just does it. He'll give you the shirt off his back. Great guy. So she wants you to have a great retirement. And plus, she said, my husband and I are gonna visit in the guest cottage that you're supposed to be building for us. And we will move in about 3 months.
Don't send her, all right?
Okay. Well, one of the things people didn't know that John worked on a seismic crew for Mobile for 3 years. I didn't realize it was that long a time, but he does seismic work. And you were good friends with Roger McGarry, is that his name? Yeah. So his wife Julie said all this to me. The sister Julie said all this to me. And so anyway, John first met Roger in September of 1975. They were both on the Mobile S9 seismic crew under Sam Cooke, who was the old soul singer who got kind of fallen on hard times. So, Roger had been on the crew. Most people don't even know who Sam Cooke is. You know Sam. Yeah. Okay. Roger had been on the crew for a year or two prior to John's arrival, so he knew the ropes better than John did. So John, he was kind of a doodle bugger. He walks up, he cruises in one day, and his first assignment was in Rock Springs, Wyoming. That's kind of the middle of Powder River Basin.
Yeah, well, it's Sweetwater.
Okay. And he was laying cables, and a guy chewing tobacco came over, a guy by the name of Ray Ellis, asked him where he was from and where he was staying, and Johnny, no, it's John now. Johnny's gone, now it's John. Told him he was from Northwest Louisiana and he was sleeping in his car and not in a motel room. Ray asked, "Why do you sleep in the car?" And John answered, "Because I'm broke and I'm cheap." Because Mobile won't pay for my room until I work here a little longer. So anyway, Ray took care of you, got you a motel room, no telling where, what it looked like, but probably had bed bugs and everything else. But it was a place. Then John went to Fort Stockton, Texas, way up in West Texas. And then, in the middle of the winter, he was sent to Michigan. You must have pissed somebody off. They were surveying for their seismic crew icy swamps. They didn't have any walkie-talkies back in the day, so Roger and John communicated with each other by loud verbal exchanges and by hand signs, usually the middle finger. Roger usually had set a goal. Roger would set a goal of a certain number of miles to survey each day, and unfortunately that day, because it was so cold and everything else was going much slower, John was Roger's rod man, whatever the heck that is. I don't even want to know. That's probably enough said. And he assumed that John was walking through ankle-deep water, but in reality, the swamp had deepened to be about chest-high with some ice on top. So John was chopping through the ice with a machete. This is interesting. No wonder you're like you are now. The temperature was about 5 to 10 degrees. Roger hollered, "John, what's holding you up? I'm getting cold sitting up here." John, who was borderline hypothermic, said a few words that we won't repeat in this room, but they were, I'm sure you can imagine what they were. Anyway, but after the day was over, they went out to eat, and all was well, because John has a short memory, and that's what you do. As you get older, it'll even be shorter. That's how it goes. Okay. This is my contractor. And forget you. No, I don't want to know. Okay, forget it. He wants some cash. Once when John was driving back from the field, it's up here somewhere. We're going to try to find it there yet.
Chris, where are you going with that?
I'm not real gadgets and stuff. He was in Afton, Wyoming. Now, where's Afton, Wyoming?
It's about 50 miles southwest of Jackson.
Jackson Hole? Oh, that's kind of a nice area. John was driving the standard issue Mobile Red Company pickup on a Saturday afternoon in July. As he turned into the parking lot of the motel where all the seismic crew from Mobile was staying, John was driving about 1 to 2 miles an hour, but all the maps in the overhead visor fell out and came tumbling down on top of him as he was going in the parking lot. he lost his concentration and he ran smack dab into a metal support pole that held up the awning over the motel office. So guess what the awning did? But it just so happened that was a big day for barbecue for the seismic crew. So all the guys were in the parking lot next to the motel awning, cooking barbecue when John ran into the awning.
He's got to make an entrance.
So one of the crew members walked over and said, "You know, man, that might be the dumbest thing I ever saw you do. There was a big orange pole marking this whole place. How did you miss it? How did you hit it in the daytime?" John didn't have any answers.
It's the man's fault.
All right.
All the other guys missed it.
A final story about Ray Ellis, who was, I guess, the crew chief, or whatever you call him.
He was the head permit guy.
Head permit guy, okay.
He's the guy behind you in that article.
And he came to be John's mentor as a landman. That's what he said, okay. Ray called John one day and told him that when he got back to the seismic crew in southern Utah, now you've moved to Utah now, this is probably southeast Utah maybe?
Yeah, Beaver, Utah.
Yeah, I know where that is, okay. He needed to visit a nice lady with a problem. Ray told this woman that John was the man. The man in mobile, excuse me. The man in mobile who could help her with her predicament. Oh my God. I haven't read this paragraph yet. When John asked Ray what the dilemma was, Ray was kind of vague. He said, it's really kind of complicated. You might even have to go to the courthouse and look up some old records after you talk with her. So John, being the good company man he was, he said, I'm going to go to her house and talk to her. When John got there, she pulled him inside very quickly. They kind of got around she shut the door, pulled down the blinds and everything. She goes, John, my brother is stealing my land. We have a fence that separates our property, and at night he goes out there and moves the fence poles, so I have less land than he does. John tried to explain to her that it would take about 50 people working loudly with hand drills every night to move the fence, but she didn't want any part of that. And then she said, I knew that you guys would be in town, you mobile guys, because I knew that someone would be looking for oil on my land. You're running those seismic lines in exactly the same spot where the flying saucers shined like back 10 years ago.
And they brought the oil.
This is why you got Maricopa. This is why, I'm telling you, you were tailor-made for running that operation down there. All those crazy people down there, down there off of southwest of Maricopa or southeast of Maricopa.
I think there's one lady that Eric knows in Taft that probably will trump that lady.
Yeah. So John said, yeah, that's how we search for oil nowadays. I learned all this from Don Deininger, a geologist. We find where saucers have shined their light.
It was a trade secret.
Yeah. And then he told the lady it was Ray's, his crew guy. It was Ray's responsibility to find these people who had extraterrestrial visits. that was Ray's job. About 2 or 3 hours later in the conversation, John finally excused himself and returned to the motel. He called Ray to thank him so much for the referral. And John said that he couldn't even tell the story because Ray was laughing so much. But anyway, John, they all had great things to say about you. You're good friends. You're just a great guy, and you've been a great
Friend of the extraterrestrial.
You're just a great person. So that's all I can say.